Welcome to The Book Carriers, your favorite book club podcast.
I'm Cassandra, the hopeless romantic book carrier.
I'm Angela, the logical book carrier.
And I'm Becca, the sentimental book carrier.
We are three 30-something best friends and busy moms who live vicariously through the stories we read.
So grab your cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's get lost in a great book together.
Hello, book carriers. Welcome back. We are so happy to be here. And it is, of course, your hosts, Becca, and I'm joined by Angela and Cassandra. So we are diving into another book yap today and introducing our next read. But first, and of course, Angela, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, as always. I think I say this every single episode. I'm excited to be here.
We are still excited.
Yeah.
Always. It's a constant on these episodes.
Yeah, if you don't say you're excited, I'm going to be disappointed. So.
Exactly.
What's going to happen one episode when we're just like, we're here?
I can't stand to be here. I actually would rather be somewhere else.
Yeah, this is awful. No, that will never happen. So every episode you will hear us say we're excited to be here.
Yes,
and excited to chat with you ladies. I say those exact words. So same.
Yeah, I will say it's been 2 weeks since we've gotten together, and so yeah, definitely very excited to get into a deep dive convo with you girls.
Yes. I can't wait.
Feels like a reunion.
Yes. Yeah. But you know what? That's life. And we're moms and we have families and y'all
things
have jobs. And we just, things happen and things come up. And that's just the nature of it. And that's why we also record. For those who don't know and don't follow us on TikTok, we record these at like 9:00 at night on a weeknight and are usually recording till midnight or a little bit past midnight, because this is the only time that we can, because we're moms and we're busy, but that's how much we love doing this. And that's how much we love reading in this community. So
yes,
forgive us if we ever seem a little sleep deprived or maybe a little too hyped up on caffeine, because we've overdone it to try to prepare, but we're here and we're excited.
And we're ready.
And we're ready
as three tired but ready moms can be.
Yes, exactly. Well, so today we are introducing our next read. We have picked, or I think Cassandra actually picked this week, and she picked Quicksilver by Callie Hart. We wanted to dive a little bit back into the fantasy realm. We wanted to, we took a break. We read Manacled, which is still fantasy, but not like fae fantasy. And then we read Binding 13, which was not at all. So we were excited, at least I was, to get back into a little bit of fantasy.
Yeah, so. It's on our list. That's the thing about it, is that I heard good things about it, only good things about it. And so then I actually started to hear that there's actually some mixed reviews out there. So I was really interested to decide, for myself, let me pick it up and let me see, Yeah. So that was why I said, let's go, girls.
Let's go. Let's go, girls.
Yeah. I could hear it, Shania Twain in my head. And that dates me. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
I love her.
Our 90s babies will know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that you texted us about it while we were finishing up Binding. You were like, by the way, I'm starting to read this, because you had already finished Binding, I think, before we even recorded. And so you were like, this is, my next read. And you started, you were like, I think we should do this. So today we're going to talk a little bit about it, give an introduction like we always do, go over, our opinions on the covers and dedication and some facts about Callie Hart, which always gives some depth to author's writing. So so Cassandra, go ahead and take it away with some things to know about Miss Callie Hart.
Yeah, so I do have to say that I have read the entire book. I finished it. So I just have that understanding. And I think it's good for our listeners to know, where are we in our reading journey on this specific book. And so I have completely finished the book, and Angela and Becca are in the middle of reading. Yes. So that's where we're each at right now. Yes. So I feel like this is a good little taste for you listeners out there who haven't read Quicksilver, who would like to without getting anything revealed to you. So this is all about our girl, Sarah's Fane. Sarah's Fane is our main character, and she lives in a desert city, and she's super poor. So we're thinking, Aladdin style, Jean Valjean, stealing a loaf of bread for the greater good, that complex going on. And so her main thing at the beginning is she wants to take care of her brother, but she's special because she's always had these like unexplainable ways of making like metal objects move. So think of Matilda, right? Matilda, where she just like moved stuff, and that's what she can do. And right, she doesn't know why, but she just never thought much of it. But the shenanigans ensue when she is stealing and she gets caught. She gets in big trouble with the queen of her city and she has to answer for her crime. She does almost die and accidentally opens a portal to a new realm. And I'm going to leave it there. So anything I should add? I don't really want to add too much.
I think like on Callie Hart's website, and she gives a little synopsis for the book or whatever, and she talks a little bit about the male lead, I think, in the synopsis on there. But there is, of course, a male lead that we meet in the other realm, and you get that morally gray, dark character that I think so many people who want to read romantasy want in their books, and they do have that in this book. So I think that pretty much sums up exactly what I would need to hear to pick it up. Like, I'm sold. So
yeah. So moving into, facts about our author, Callie Hart. I actually found an article where she did an interview, which I think I love those because it gives you a little bit more of like their little personality. And so one of the questions was, when did you first discover your love for writing? She would write little poems with her grandma, with her Nana, and she just remembers that her Nana had a good sense of humor and they always would just try to make each other laugh. And I thought that was cool because you kind of do see that, like, she does have some humor in her writing, and just I love that. Also, I thought it was interesting, her favorite book is Lord of the Rings. So she's very much like been like a fantasy lover like her whole life, because I haven't dabbled into Lord of the Rings, but I imagine that's intense.
Yeah, that's high fantasy. That's like,
yes,
ultimate high fantasy.
That's like Game
of
Thrones. Like, you gotta really want to read them.
Yeah. So I would say, she's got this like appreciation for high fantasy as well as fantasy, and you can see that. That's her little inspiration there. And so another interesting fact, my last little tidbit about Callie Hart is that so we know there's a second book that's going to be out, I think, in November. She said she's like finishing up the last bits that need to be done to kind of like close the door on that book, get it ready for readers, and then she's going to jump right into writing her third book. So there's a third book. Yeah.
In this series.
This series, in this Quicksilver series, like there's a third book coming, and she's just so excited and like loves the character so much that she wants to jump right into it. And I think that's cool. I like that because, like, thinking about Rebecca Yarros, she has a very strict process. Hers is like, I write my fantasy and I write my realistic fiction. And that's just what she does. That's great for Rebecca Yarros. But I just thought it was interesting to see like a different style. Like, she's like, no, like these characters are like all I can think about. And so I'm in it. I'm going to keep writing. And so I like that. It's pretty cool.
I love that.
Yeah. And then like, oh no, continue. Like you guys.
I was just going to say, I think it's so interesting just to hear, but I think it's like any creative process, right? Like different artists have different processes and like what they do. So it's really cool to hear like authors do it differently too. Yeah. And what works for one author may not work for another one. And so gotta find your vibe.
Yeah. I just imagine it's so hard, as just to be an author, like to get that inspiration. And so, hers is like, if I have it, I'm going to stick with it and run with it. I also like, Angela, you might appreciate this. You talked about this in the last episode, but she said she's always grown up with like having a hard time focusing. And so she could find her focus in her storytelling. Like her teachers encouraged her to write, and that's kind of what helped her like keep focus. And so she's like, I'm going to keep that focus and I'm going to keep going with that third book. And so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because that's also the thing with like, I don't know if she has been diagnosed as like ADHD, but a part of ADHD is like once you do find something that like interests you and like you get so creative with it, that you hyper focus on it. So I wonder, like, this is it for her. Like, this is what sparks her passion and creativity. So it makes sense she would want to write it back to back.
Yeah. I love it.
That tracks.
So the last little thing is she's like, after she writes her third book, she wants to do some screenwriting. She said she's done some projects and she has some screenwriting projects lined up. I don't know specifically what kind. I know she does have a series coming out on Netflix, the Quicksilver series. Did you all know that? I think it's going to be, it may not be a series. I think it's just a movie, but
I don't know. I know that it was in TV, like it was getting the rights or whatever.
So that's coming, and I don't know if that's specifically what her screenwriting is going to be. I thought that was pretty interesting because, you know, you can see some of that in her writing with her, like the dialogue that she says
That's
with the
what
characters.
I was gonna say. That's like the second that you said that, like connects to me. And I think I said the same thing with Onyx Storm. We knew that this was being taken, it's going to be put into like a TV series or whatever. So the cadence was starting to read like episodes. And I didn't know if that was on purpose or if it was a calculated thing on Rebecca Yaros's part. But for this one, I definitely see where like she might be stronger writing wise as a screenwriter because I can easily picture what she's saying in my mind. And this might be more for the next episode, but there's a lot of information in her writing about like the scene and whatever. But it moves quick enough that like you can't scan pages of this book because you miss you're like, wait, what? Like what? You really have to read like every single little word to get whatever. But it's like a description, like it moves like a movie. Like there's a lot of description without a lot of depth.
But the dialogue is strong. You get a lot of the feels like from the dialogue. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And so like I thought that was
so
interesting.
Good for her.
I thought that'd be cool for y'all to know too, like as you're finishing up your reads, you know, her a little bit more about her and her process and stuff. So like, yeah, she's got that lined up. And then she said after that, she's definitely going to go on vacation and do like nothing at all, which I love.
Good for her.
Yes, as she should. Yes.
Yeah. So she's got a lot lined up. There's a lot coming from this book, from this series. So got all the facts about Callie Hart.
Perfect.
Oh, I did want to say I did get that info from the Nerd Daily interview that Elise Dumpleton did. I just think it's super important to give credit, you know, because I would not have known any of that. If you look at her her website, it's very much like talks just about her books, but I feel like she got a little bit more about her as a person, which I liked. So thank you, Nerd Daily.
Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay, the cover.
Let's talk about the cover.
Okay, Becca's face. Becca made a disgusted face for our audio listeners.
I'm trying so hard to hide my emotions. I guess I'm not doing a very good job.
Who would like to begin about the cover? Becca, would you, since you had a strong...
Yeah, this is awful.
Wait, let me tell you my... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Angela, you go first.
I was just gonna say my super duper like first impression, I like surprise. Like it's not really common to have, or maybe I don't know, recently it hasn't been common to see like
please put it down, Cassandra.
But for our people watching.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, that's right. I thought you were just like taunting me with it.
No. I know exactly what you're saying. Go, Angela.
So my super like first impression is like a little bit of surprise, like whoa, they actually put like a character as like the cover, because you know everybody makes their own image in their own mind, but it's like, oh, here's the image being presented to you. So that's that's super different to me,
and for it to be the male.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say that I did see some of the covers of her other books, which is also the same. She does have the picture of the male on the other.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear about her
like
choice
why
in that. Yeah. Why she likes to do that.
But
yes, Becca.
Not common.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, Becca, tell us your thoughts.
I want to say this with to whoever the author is that did, or not author, the artist who did put this cover together. I am not critiquing that it's not a beautiful picture. Okay. If this is what the author and the publisher wanted, then the actual execution of it is great. I just personally, one, I don't like covers with real people on them or characters. That's just a personal opinion, right?
Same. I think do we all agree on that? Or
But
no?
well, tell me more. What don't you like about that?
I don't like being told what they look like yet. Like, that's why I'm always like, oh, I want to read the book before I see a movie, or I wanted this. Like, I want to see it in my own head first before you put images. Because once that image is there, it's really hard to not. It's like the same as like when we read Manacled, right? Like, we knew what Ron and Harry and all these people looked like and like how they acted in their mannerisms, and or Draco being in that, you know, and like I knew what the actor looked like. And sometimes it was hard for me to picture him, I think, in the way that we were supposed to in Manacled. That's the point I wanted to make there. So that's the reason that I don't like it. And I think sometimes also, like, especially like on Callie Hart's other book, like covers, like they're like this like steamy, like whatever. And I think that that's so just, it makes me like, ugh, like I just don't like it. I just don't like it. And like nothing would turn me away faster. Like if I saw this on a bookshelf in the bookstore and didn't know that it was popular, I would never in a million years pick this up. Like never. Plus he looks like he's like 12 on there. Don't you think? Or like young. Like he looks like a young like teenager.
No, he does look kind of young, I would say. Yeah.
And so,
I
and
mean,
I'm like,
I see a little stubble, so isn't that supposed to age him
Just
a
like
little
the
bit?
I don't see
tiniest.
any stubble.
There's like a little shadow.
Oh, for sure, there's stubble. Look at that.
Yeah.
You see
I
that?
guess.
For our audio listeners, she zoomed in super hard.
Yes.
It's thank you, Cassandra.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. And then I'm also like, are those his hands? Like, is he doing this to himself?
He is.
I
Those
think
have
so.
to
Yeah,
be his hands.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or are
yeah.
those the girl's hands?
Those are his hands.
No, they
He's
have to be
thinking
his.
so
He's
hard.
brooding. He's
Yeah.
brooding. That's what this is giving.
But you don't think it looks like.
Those are my exact words for the cover.
But look, it's the thumbs. The thumbs are on top.
Oh,
but they're like
you can't
this.
do that like this. So it's like the girl is like.
Are you sure the thumbs are on top?
Yes.
Oh, you're right.
Oh no, wait.
Oh.
No, wait, I'm wrong.
I can't.
Because look,
honestly,
it's
I
like
can't see where the
this.
thumbs are now. Yeah.
It's like this. Yeah. So
I
okay,
think those
it
are
is
his hands.
Okay, well they look like girl hands.
They do
Like-
look a little small.
That's why I'm thinking. I'm like, oh well, that makes sense. So that's like the girl or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So and then
No,
like
it's
the
his
like the. I like
The
said
tear.
at the beginning that like the artist who did this, like, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but like the butterflies look like clip art. Like it's just awful. It's just awful. And that's my thought. And I'm
Okay.
sorry to the
That's
artist
fair.
who did this. Actually, you know what? You did a great job, I think, probably for what you were given and what your expectations were. Then I think you did a great job. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
And yes, I totally see how they look like clip art, Becca. But maybe they're supposed to stand out in that way and look a little bit I don't know. It's for sure symbolism, right? I mean, they have to symbolize something. So who knows? Maybe they're supposed to stand out that way.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Cassandra,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here I'm gonna be I don't even know. Listen, I think it's a choice. I think it's a a very like to make a cover like this, you have to like it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna put the guy out there. There's just a lot going on with this cover, and as somebody who heard hype about it and was like, wanting to read it, it's just a choice. And I agree with you, Becca. I think that if I saw it, it wouldn't immediately make me want to pick it up. But what I do like about it is I was like, okay, so we got Brooding Boy here, we got butterflies, we've got the tear with the silver. The title is Quicksilver. What is there just so much silver that it's coming out of him? Like, what's going on? So that was my initial thoughts. And I think it's just a choice. And it's not one that I would necessarily like go for, but Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that kind of art either, like where it shows who it is.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you say that. Like it's a choice.
Yes.
It's like the nicest
It
way
is
to
the nicest
say.
way you can possibly say that.
It's like
Yes.
they were like, this is what we want to do, and like we're gonna go hard with it.
Yes,
Here
that's
it is.
yes, and that was my point. Is like this must have been like exactly what the author wanted, and if that's
Yeah.
the case, then you delivered. Then that's, I mean, it's not
Yeah.
bad in that
No,
the
yeah.
production of it, except for the butterflies. I wish that the butterflies were a little bit more creatively,
Realistic.
like beautifully done or something, you know.
Mhm.
But like, you know, the art itself is not bad. But I do know, you know, that this is going to be a series or whatever, and authors and publishing companies are known for coming out with different series. So I hope that somebody goes in and does some sort of rebrand for it and gives it a cover that it deserves.
And
But
actually, we should probably look it up. Actually, I think I saw that there is a new cover. It has like
What is
flowers
that?
and butterflies. Do y'all see it?
I think that's the new one.
Yeah. Yes, the book Quicksilver by Callie Hart is getting a new cover for the hardcover edition, which will be available in August 2025 with all new artwork and special embellishments.
Did you see? Did you show it? Is that what you saw?
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah.
oh, see, now that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's a different choice.
Yes.
This is for our audio listeners.
It's
We're
odd
looking
to me
at-
that Quicksilver is 2 words in that one, and it's 1 in the book and on the
Mm.
like. Why wouldn't they have just like rounded it and made it 1?
Mm-hmm. It didn't fit the image.
You know
Yeah,
what?
that
Also, is this text on this the other cover? It says "Strike the bargain, pay the price." Is that on the other cover?
no, there's no text on the original cover.
Oh.
What does it say?
On the newer cover for the hardcover coming out, I guess it's the text at the beginning at the top. It says "Strike the bargain, period, pay the price, period." So kind of like ride or die, or
Yes, like
fly or die,
fly or die, right?
Yes.
Fly or die. Yeah, interesting.
So that I feel like that would definitely like hook me.
Yeah. No, if I saw
The
that,
little text,
Yeah.
it's got like a little, it's got a vibe going on.
yes,
Mhm.
and I
And what is
like
that?
I like the butterfly contrast on that better. It's not so strikingly like a picture
Mhm.
that had like some kid plop some butterfly stickers on top of like a picture
Yeah.
like where it doesn't belong. That actually is like woven in like beautifully, but enough of a contrast that you can tell it has some significance. Like, yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It feels more romantic too.
Yeah.
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 So I'm pretty sure
good.
she probably got a whole bunch of feedback similar to
I'm
our
sure.
our feedback.
It makes me feel validated. Let's just say
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
Totally.
choice. Good choice, Callie. Good choice.
Let's read the dedication and talk about that a little bit.
All right. So our dedication for Quicksilver. You ready? Okay. So I like it. Here we go. It says, "For those who live their nightmares so that others may have their dreams."
And what do you
Initial
think that
thoughts?
means?
Yeah, what does that mean to y'all? For those who live their
Um,
nightmares so that others may have their dreams.
The way that I read that was that for those, like when I first read it before I read the book, so I had no idea really what I was getting into. As I'm reading, it makes a little bit more sense. I think maybe in the way that Callie Hart was wanting it to, but for me, it was like somebody who sacrifices everything so that their family or their friends can have everything. That's how I read it.
Definitely. I liked it. I like it short and sweet. I actually love it, to be honest, because that was how I interpreted it too. I was like, quite often a person can be led to something like that. You're led to just like you're in nightmare mode, in survival mode. And you can kind of forget who you are and forget like why you're doing it. But yeah, you sacrifice so much so that others can thrive and others can live their dreams. And that it resonated. I
Yeah,
liked it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I love it too. And I think I love it specifically for that word choice of like nightmares. I think it gives it like a different edge
Yes.
of like nightmare because it also brings in like a little piece of horror, maybe a little piece of tragedy, maybe. And so I think it makes it more intense. But yeah, I love it too. I actually didn't read the dedication before I started reading the book, and I really like it.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think it sets a mood, sets a vibe.
Yes, definitely. And once you get started, I feel like you quickly understand a little bit more about like the, the word choices that she made there.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely.
Love it.
Great.
Nice one.
We love our dedications. I love my dedications for sure.
Yes, this is a good one.
So this book, it does take us a little bit into, especially Callie Hart specifically as an author, maybe a little bit into the dark romance arena. How do we feel about reading something maybe a little bit on the darker side? I know we read Manacled, but honestly, I feel like my opinion is that Manacled wasn't necessarily dark romance. I think it was more like dark topics, but not dark romance. And so this is, this is edging a little bit more onto the dark romance side. So how do we feel a little bit about that? And what is dark romance to y'all?
Yeah. And just to clarify, Callie Hart, like this is her specialty, right? Like this is the genre that she writes is dark romance.
Mm-hmm. She says she writes dark romance and dark academia.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty vague, but but this is considered a dark romance. But, initially my thinking is like, well, what exactly makes this a dark romance? What is a dark romance? Because I guess if this is a dark romance, this would be my first dark romance to read.
Same. Yes.
Yeah.
Same. That's what I was going to say.
I will say so far, I am thinking maybe some of the advertising was a little misleading for this as far as it being a dark romance. I've read like dark romance, and this is very, very tame. But looking at her other series that she's done, I think she does do dark romance maybe in those, but I don't really think that I think this is just strictly romantasy. So, but I haven't read the whole thing, so I don't know if I'm just haven't gotten there yet.
I will say, like, without giving spoilers or too much information, is when we get to a certain part, and I guess I'll explain that I went into this blind, and so I didn't even know it was considered a dark romance. I had no idea. And when we got to a certain part, I was like, oh, that's different. And is this? And then I started researching a little bit. And yeah, that's when I found out. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. And so I will say there is a part.
Okay.
I think I know what you're talking about. And for our listeners, you're just going to have to tune into the next episode, all right?
And you're going to have to
with us. Yes.
Yeah, you're going to have to read, and we'll discuss it next time. But yes, I think, Becca, as you keep reading, it makes more sense.
Okay. So maybe as like somebody who hasn't read dark romance, and this would be my first, Angela's first as well, as somebody who has finished the book, I will say that if like you're looking to just like see what the genre is all about or see what that's all about, I think it's a good starting point, just to kind of ease you into it. Because dark romance, dark academia can get pretty dark. It's, I guess the main thing is like morally gray, darker themes, right? And you definitely have that with this book. Without giving spoilers, you've got your morally gray characters and some darker themes. Yeah.
Well, Becca, let me ask you, because you've read some darker romance. So I guess when you hear dark romance, like what comes to mind? Like what is it to you?
To me, it's bullying a little bit. It can borderline like abuse, but sometimes it's consensual. Sometimes it's not as consensual. I've dabbled in some dark romance. I think I've had times in my life where I was more okay with reading that kind of stuff. And, it's not for everybody. And that's why I don't want to scare people off that maybe are trying not to read so much dark romance. And I think that this is tame compared to some other stuff that I've read The Ritual and Haunting Adeline and Does It Hurt, Penelope Douglas type stuff. Like stalker type themes. That's dark romance to me. So I think that when it's just really heavy smut, I wouldn't necessarily call that dark romance. I think it's just like a higher level of romance, a different genre. But dark romance is, it can be really rough if you're not really prepared to read it.
Yeah. I read that another theme can be in dark romance is obsession as well. So that makes sense, stalker. But yeah, you definitely I agree, as someone who's read it. And like I said, if you haven't read dark romance, you're worried or whatever. As someone who's read the entire thing, I think it's okay. Like, it's not it, because that's not something that I like. And we've heard this before when we read Manacled, that I don't really like to put myself in that mindset and that mind frame. So I don't like to read dark romance. But I didn't mind this. It didn't affect me in that way.
Yeah.
It's a good intro to a dark romance. Getting somebody's feet wet into the dark romance.
And you kind of decide, it's like, okay, was that enough? Like, or do I need more? And then if you need more, then you can maybe dabble, then maybe you're cut out for dark romance. But if you're like, man, that was something, then maybe don't go on the dark romance. Because and dark romance to me, it's like, it's addicting, and and you can kind of go down a rabbit hole really fast, and then you kind of pull yourself up and you're like, wait, like this has now become my new normal, and maybe that's not the best and healthiest thing. So, just be very mindful before you ever pick up a dark romance or dark academia, either of those though.
And check trigger warnings.
Check trigger warnings. Yes.
Yeah. And so I looked up, just for this episode, in people's definitions of dark romance. And so a lot of people just said it's romance with sometimes problematic themes, taboo, dark themes, but very mature themes. So things that y'all have already mentioned, like abducting the heroine, dubious consent, non-consensual consent, possessiveness, obsession, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the general.
Right.
Yeah.
The general
and
definitions.
So just if anybody's curious, what is the difference between dark romance and dark academia? I was like, I've never even heard that before. So it's, Becca, do you have any experience reading dark academia?
Well, dark academia is just mostly like in the school arts type setting, from what I understand. So it's like like I know Callie Hart has a series where they're in a school setting, and so it's dark academia.
So just
like,
kind of referring to the setting of the book.
Yeah, so it's like dark academia is kind of more of like an aesthetic. It's not so much, but it can also be referred to as the genre, like dark academia romance or whatever, and it's because it's set in a school setting or like a higher education type setting.
I
think I could be totally wrong. That's what I understand it to be.
I'm gonna yes and you, Becca. So that's a improv term for those that don't. But I had some time to kill, so I watched a 30-minute video.
Wow.
Okay, so she's about to be like, yes, Becca, but you're wrong, because I actually did the research.
That's exactly why it's a yes and. I'm saying yes and.
Okay.
Yes. So if you're interested, source, the video I watched was by the book Leo. It was a good time. It was very, very informative and goes into way more detail than I'm about to get into, because like I said, I'm just yes anding Becca here. But the main themes are school, death, murder, and the big thing, and like way more. They talk about like occult things like that, yes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Not really something I would be interested in reading, but interesting that that's a thing. Yeah. And so it also has, one of the main things is that it has a critique of academia. There's a critique of academia, elitism, obsession. So that's what makes it like, so I guess that's where your morally gray characters come into play, right? And so I thought that was interesting. Like, there has to be this overall critique throughout, like maybe not throughout, but by the end of it, there's some sort of reasoning as to why these characters are doing what they're doing. And you may not know it at first, but you find out, and it's a critique. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, if you're interested in learning more, check out the book Leo. Her video is pretty good. Yeah.
On YouTube? On
YouTube. Yeah. It was fun. It's a good 30-minute video there.
Great. So we hope that you guys will join us for our official book review for Quicksilver, which will be up next week. Angela and I are going to get to reading because we got to finish. And we'll dive into deeper a little bit on the dark romance side once we finish and once we understand exactly in this book the theme of dark romance and how it's portrayed. So thank you guys so much for listening. And again, we appreciate every like, comment, follow, and everything. And we love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Book Carriers.
We hope you enjoyed diving into this week's read with us as much as we did.
Thank you so much for joining us on this literary adventure. Your support means the world to us.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scene fun, and more bookish content.
And if you're feeling generous, please rate our podcast 5 stars. Your reviews help other book carriers find us and join our growing community.
Remember, we'll be back with a new episode every week, catching up on our latest read.
Until next time, keep reading and living those amazing stories.
Bye for now.
Happy reading.
I've been called to